the condo inventory, in Arlington for active listings, it's it's above what it was in the past two and a half years. Even 2022 had more inventory. So I don't paint it as an inventory problem. I just paint it as a demand problem. And now we're coming up on 3 years of being at 6.5% interest rate, 7%, 7.5% interest rate. Now it's down to 6.8%. And so now people have had time to adjust to this period as things were, rapidly changing in 2022 and 2023. And so now it just might not be as attractive in the Washington, D.C. area to buy a condo. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show, Shawn. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 2025 Washington, D.C. area condo market and what a condo market it has become. The year started off with lots of optimism heading into 2025, which was kind of quickly squashed by, what we're starting to find out to be, I would say, some mediocre, or dare I say lackluster numbers as we're starting to get into things. Shawn, Wednesday, July 30th. How is your Wednesday, July 30th treating you?
July 30th. It's hot. I want to get back to the beach house. Things are naturally slower. This is July, August. We're going to see a slower time, and this is when real estate agents should be traveling, and I just want to get out of here. So if you walk around the streets of Arlington, it's slow. Get out. Do it. So I think that's what we're doing the next week, right?
Yeah. So we're looking at an article from friend of the program, Eli Tucker, another real estate agent in Arlington from ARL Now. Ask Eli, condo values fall in the first half of 2025. Here's the quick synopsis, reading from the article.
Okay.
Average price of a condo fell by 10%. Median price of a condo fell by 7.5%. Demand sharply fell, with just 39% of condos selling within the first 10 days and just 39% selling for at or above the asking price. So, Shawn, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I missed the 2021 real estate market. We're looking at the first half of 2025, and there's no beating around the bush. The condos have taken a little bit of the hit. Eli mentions that most of the losses seem to come from the two-bedroom condo market, where the average price dropped by 7% compared to the 1% drop in the one-bedroom market. So, Shawn, now that our good friend Eli Tucker has put the numbers together in fancy charts and colorful graphs, and it's just out there for everyone to see, it's starting to feel a lot more real. What are your thoughts on the 2025 first half condo market in Arlington?
Man, Eli Tucker, what a good dude. This is a lot of work. Yeah. Compiling all this stuff and getting it straight and making sure it's right and then putting it out there, it's a lot. So can I ask a question? Is this DC wide or is this just Arlington? Okay, just Arlington numbers. Okay, I'd like to start with number one. You have to be careful with painting with a broad brush is what we always say. And I know Eli's numbers are probably right because he's a smart guy and he knows what he's looking at. But I want to kind of go over my experiences in the two-bedroom market and show you why maybe we're seeing this and why maybe we're not in some.
Okay, so what's going to be more accurate of a data sample? All of the Arlington sales or Shawn's Arlington sales? No,
segmented Arlington sales. So I would say that when you're looking at two-bedroom units, I want you to look at where the majority of condos sell, which would be in the two-bedroom market between $550,000 to $850,000. Okay, that's one segment. And then a second segment would be like $850,000 and up, or even up to $1 million and then $1 million plus, right? And we're going to see a lot different price drops in the segment where the majority of people are purchasing between $550,000 and $850,000. That, I think, is going to be a stronger market than when you start going above $1 million. And that's what's going to see your bigger price drops, because naturally the $1 million plus, they have further to come down. They're probably pricing higher, and first of all, think about that, right? Think about your million pluses coming down. They have a lot more room to move in some instances than in that 850 to 550. And in my experience this year, when you price it right, when you make it look good, it's going to sell. And I don't think I had many sell under our asking price. And in fact, I saw a few of ours go above asking with multiple contracts. And maybe that's in the 39% that we see. So my goal is always to sell it that first week. So first, let's look at those. And I would guess, and I haven't looked at these because I'm just seeing this article, but I would guess to say that in that majority of where things sell, we're not seeing 7 to 10% drops. We're seeing a smaller drop possibly, but in that million plus we are. Now let's dig into that. The million plus market, why are we seeing the drops? Well, think about what's hitting the market and what has always been on the market. Number one, and this is a lot of Roslyn condos. The Roslyn market, let's look at that. What is it? It's the Pierce condominium. The Pierce condominium took forever to sell from the builder. That's a new build, right? So those people are now finally coming to market on their own. They're going to price it significantly higher than what they bought it for to cover fees and things like that. But it's only been 2 to 3 years since they purchased this. So when you purchase a new construction, you're going to see you're paying a premium because you're getting a new product. And so it's new to the market, and a lot of people will negotiate, get it at a higher value when it's new. They're going to pay a little bit more. So now they're seeing what does this happen? What happens when we actually hit the market with this new product at a resale? Is it going to get the value that we thought it was going to get, or are we going to have to drop? So they're guessing at this new value. And I was just through the Pierce condominium 2 days ago. And when you're looking at the values, you're thinking, all right, $1.3 million. What does $1.3 million get you in the Pierce? It gets you a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but it's actually a 1-bedroom den, 2-bath on the 3rd floor. Okay, so that's what the Pierce gets you. So how many buyers are there for that? That's a very small buyer pool. And so you're going to test the value, and then you're going to have to come down. So that's the Pierce. Number 2 would be Turnberry Tower. Turnberry Tower is an ultra luxury condo that has had some construction around it in the recent years. And so these higher priced condos that sold for millions of dollars and had great views of DC now have obstructed views. And so naturally, again, these people are going to sell, and they're going to say, all right, where am I going to price this thing? I bought this way high, but now I don't have the view anymore. So are we going to be able to get it? And so I think you have to be careful on those types of condos.
Well, let's bring it back to the meat of the market. I'm just going to go through some of your recent listings. So 900 North Stafford Street, you have that as active. It's $399. You took it over from another agent who priced it at $435. So that one we can say dropped their price. 2330 14th Street, listed at $859.9 under contract. Did you get list price for that one?
Got list price on that one, but again, hard to price.
I thought you just said that the person offered below.
We had one contract that pulled out. I'm getting basically $3,000 under that asking price.
Okay, so you're getting less than list price on that one. 888 North Quincy Street, that's my listing, priced at $698. We're
doing
getting
pretty good on that.
All right, so we priced it pretty high. We're getting less than the asking price and like 15,000 more than I thought we would get.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, I don't know how you want to. All right, so skip that one.
Because like if you're looking at asking price, which Eli is looking at compared to what it normally sells for, a lot of people are pushing that price up and then it's coming down. It's not to say that it's a bad market, in my opinion.
At 1045 North Utah Street, unit 212, listed at $625. Did you get asking for that
one? I am getting under asking.
You're getting under asking.
Yeah,
so
and
all 4 of the ones that we just talked about, we're getting under asking. And so these are more in the meat of the market. So I hear you talking about the Pierce. I hear you talking about Turnberry. I'm just like, all right, let's look at our 4 most recent condo listings, and they're all getting under asking.
But we can explain that, right? And that's the thing that I want you to see.
Okay, but like, what sort of nuances are there when the price is less than what we're asking for?
Okay, I'll tell you. So, unit 212 in
but like every condo has a story. They don't care about the story. They care about the numbers. It's like it doesn't matter how we got to 600 or 700. It just matters what the number is.
I get it. All right. Yeah, I understand that. But what my goal is here is to tell you that the market isn't bad. Don't be scared about the seeing a 7% price drop.
So yeah, let's get into that. So what is the narrative? Sorry. So here's the deal. We can explain away. Listen, I'll explain how we got $15,000 more because for Liberty Center, and I was like, all right, I think we should price it lower. My client was like, no, and we ended up getting higher. Every number has an explanation, but Eli analyzed. There's like 700 sales here. We're looking at 4. All right, and so obviously there's going to be some outliers. There's going to be some Turnberry Towers. There's going to be some Pierces. There's going to be some River Places that are going to completely screw up some of these numbers. But by and large, the condo market's not going up. It's not really stabilizing. I mean, the numbers don't lie. The condo market fell by 10%. Now, if we want to say, okay, well, these segments fell for a little bit less, that's fine. So, all right, now I'm bringing it back to you, Shawn. When we're looking at this, what sort of narrative are we painting, and what sort of takeaway are we looking at if you are a condo owner or a potential condo buyer?
What kind of narrative are we painting? I want to paint that it's not all bad. I mean, you're seeing this is an analysis of list price to sale price. I don't want everybody to be scared that, oh my gosh, my condo value just dropped 8 to 10%, because that's just not the reality. It's from where somebody priced it to where it actually sold. And what we see a lot of times is sellers will overprice. They'll tend to try to get a higher price, and that will then show a different variance. Now, why is that? Maybe it's more this year than it has been in the past. Maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, yes, the condo market is not as strong as it was last year, the year before. But I don't want it to be out there to say, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, because it's not. It's a good market. We're still selling within 30 days, the majority of these things, right? And I've been doing this for 21 years. I've seen bad markets. I'm not feeling that we're in a bad market. And honestly, this is my best year ever. So like, that's what I'm trying to tell people. Okay. It's like, don't let the numbers scare you. Let's look into why this is happening. So
we are zoomed in very closely, right? Mm-hmm. On the 6 months. Oftentimes in real estate, the closer you zoom in, I would say like the more likely it is that you may be missing the forest for the trees, right? Like if you're so far zoomed in, real estate is cyclical. Maybe you zoom out and you start to realize that, hey, these numbers are actually kind of ebbing and flowing naturally in, the common course of the real estate market. So what I hear you saying is that you don't feel like it is a bad market. So I'm going to flip that on you. What sort of factors, by the way, properties are taking longer to sell, condos are taking longer to sell, prices are dropping slightly. What sort of factors on your side would you have to see for you to feel, or for you to change your tune and say, well, now I'm starting to see, some more red flags here?
I mean, major price drops, undervalues that I've seen in the last
major price drops. What sort of numerical figure can we assign to something like major price drops?
Well, what I want to see is maybe the price increases have stopped, right? That's the thing. The price increases have stopped, but we're still up from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So it's like the Arlington condo market and the Arlington market as a whole is very strong compared to anywhere else, right? So if we're comparing the Arlington market to years prior, I'll bet you that our prices are still higher than a few years ago, right?
All right, let's zoom in on that. Okay, so I have price trends, average sold price for SmartChart Arlington County for condos of the last 10 years. The average sold price for Arlington condos, it peaked at almost $600,000 in March of 2023. Now we're closer to June was $473,000, which was a 17% decrease compared to June 2024. So the numbers, the 10-year averages, showed a peak in 2023, early 2024, and now we're hovering right above and right below, that $500,000 mark.
Okay, is this median or is this average?
This is the average sales price.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we've come down, all right, but I don't. Okay. I just want people to know that I don't feel like it's a bad market.
What numbers would I have to? So all right, so we can go down. The market can be less attractive. I don't know if that's the right word. The market can be less desirable without it being like, it doesn't have to be a great market or a horrible market. We don't have to label it sky is falling or incredible. Mm-hmm. It can just be a slightly below what we're used to market.
Well, and it is. All right, we have higher inventory than we're normally used to. You know, right now we probably have 50 two-bedroom units on the market along the orange line, where typically we have 25. So there's your numbers right there. Yeah, we're in a worse market than we're typically used to.
So yeah, the average, and if you're watching on YouTube, we'll throw up the graph. The active listings for condos, they're, you know, around 200, which, you know, in 2021 they were above 300.
Yeah.
And so obviously there were more transactions happening. So there's more inventory. You know, it just comes down to the demand. The inventory's simply sitting longer. You know, obviously there's headwinds because of federal, you know, job cuts, and as Eli points out in the article, if you're looking to buy a condo and you're on the fence and you're like not sure, what do? You just go rent an apartment. You know, if you're looking to buy a house and you're not sure, it's a little bit tougher to go out and like rent a house. You know, have you seen the rental houses in Arlington?
Yeah.
They are beat up.
Yeah,
they are the landlord
tiny.
special.
Yeah.
You know, they're the 2-bed, 1-bath, the 3-bed, 1-bath, you know, Arlington bungalow that's, you know, $5,000 a month. It's tough. But the condo inventory, you know, in Arlington for active listings, it's I mean, it's above what it was in the past 2.5 years. Even 2022 had more inventory. So I don't paint it as an inventory problem. I just paint it as a demand problem. And now we're coming up on 3 years of being at 6.5% interest rate, 7%, 7.5% interest rate. Now it's down to 6.8%. And so now people have had time to adjust to this period as things were, you know, rapidly changing in 2022 and 2023. And so now it just might not be as attractive in the Washington, D.C. area to buy a condo.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, you have to look at so much because the interest rates not coming down is starting to have its effect. You know, we thought that this was going to have a dramatic effect when it first happened, and I'm like, why are prices still going up in like 23, like 2023, 2024? Like, why are they still going up? But the demand was so high, and this is maybe in the single family market especially. But now we're starting to see the drag of this. How long is this thing going to last? We thought for sure we would be back into the 5s by now. So Jerome Powell, let's go. Let's pull these things down already. But, you know, it's having an effect of like people are tired, right? I mean, look at my payment. When I look at payments like for a house, it's like $15,000 a month for like I'm like, this is insanity. And so when you look at these condo buyers and they're buying in, maybe it's in that whatever segment they're in, you have to look at the condo fees as well. And inflation and the age of these buildings is starting to add to the costs, right? And so you have to look at, naturally, as your monthly cost goes up, your values are going to come down too. So if you look at the condo fee average right now, I mean, for a 1-bedroom right now, average is probably $550 a month, somewhere around there. That used to be the 2-bedroom condo fee, right? Now that's the 1-bedroom condo fee. The average condo fee for a 2-bedroom, somewhere around, you know, high sevens to $800 a month. And so that is then naturally going to have a pull down on those prices when you look at affordability. So you got to look at all of the numbers and see what is affecting it. And that's my point, is like, you know, yes, it's affordability. Yes, it's going to have a drag on that market. And, you know, but there's other factors. And I guess, you know, the things I was looking at could happen at any time. And, you know, I had an example of like one that sold in the Continental, because I just wrote on a property in the Continental.
Ballston.
Yeah, in Ballston. And when I go back last year to 2024, I see this sale and I'm like, it's 1 floor above the condo that I'm writing on. And when you look at the sale, it sold for $775,000. I was like, wow, that's a
good
really
price.
high price for the Continental. And the current price for the one below it, $7.25, $728.
Okay.
All right.
That's significant.
But you have to look at the pictures, right? The one over in the sold for $775 probably had multiple contracts and it was completely blown out, right? Property condition really matters, especially when you're starting to get into these condos that are now 17 years old, 20 years old, 25 years old. If you're not upkeeping these things, the property values are going to decrease as well. So it's up to me as a real estate agent to say, hey, we should do this, this, and this to keep your value up. And that's typically what I do. I put this energy into it to get the value, to get it looking good again, and still maintaining these prices. And, you know, when you look at, like, we were talking about unit 212 compared to unit 412, I sold unit 412 in Windsor Plaza for $610,000. There hadn't been that floor plan sold for a long time. and the last one sold in the 5s. So for me to get 610 the first weekend on the market was pretty good. Then what I did was 212 looked better, so I priced it higher, right? I priced it higher because I felt, wow, if the market gave me 610 for this one, I think I can get 625 for this one. Well, I was wrong. So now we're coming back down. And so a lot of these things, these nuances in prices actually have a reaction to how people are going to perceive the market. And so you have to look at these things and know the market to say, listen, there's always going to be these nuances, but that's where the prices can trick you a little bit and you have to be careful. But overall, yes, we are not in the market that we were in a few years ago. We are in higher inventory, but I don't want that to scare you because if you price it right, you make it look good, it will sell.
Yeah, so I think you might have said earlier, like you don't want people to think it's a bad market. And I don't know if people are saying it's a bad market, but Redfin came out with a report. Washington, D.C. housing supply rose 23% in June, one of the biggest jumps on record. You just have to go across the river, Shawn, to see what's happening in D.C. The number of homes for sale in D.C. in the D.C. metro area rose 22.7% over year in June, the third biggest jump dating back to 2012. Only the 2 prior months, saw bigger increases in April, which was 23.9, and then in May, 25.5. Now, Shawn, the smart charts of the active listings in Washington, D.C., it just keeps going up. We're going back 10 years now. In July of 2015, we're around 1,200 active listings. Now we just hit 3,000 new listings. So more than double the amount of new listings in 10 years, and even up from about 2,500 last year. And then as we look closer to it, the new listings have kind of stagnated a little bit, as naturally they would, because we are in the summer months, not really the ideal time to list a property if you had your choice. And when it comes to the active listings of types of properties, we're mostly seeing that rise in the condos. So like 5 years ago, we had under 1,000 condos in Washington, D.C. for sale. Now we have over 1,500. When we look at the single-family house market, now we're going back 10 years. 10 years ago, we had about 250 for sale, and now we have about 350. So, certainly an increase in single-family houses as well. But, when you're starting at 1,000 condos, 5 years ago versus, only 250 single-family houses, certainly the condos have seen a dramatic increase.
Yeah, and that's the key is, when you're looking at the broad DC market, there are markets that are really hurting. And I think and I'm not I don't do a ton of business in DC. I'm licensed DC, Virginia, Maryland, but I don't do a ton of business in DC, and I know, or I think that market is pulling us down, right? That condo market in DC there, from what I've heard, is
it affects everything.
It affects everything.
It's right there.
Yeah, and if you look at we always used to say is watch DC's market, and that's going to have a telltale sign of what the surrounding market is.
It's kind of that first mover. Yeah. It's like the DC 1 and 2 bedroom condos, the move up buyers. They're trying to move up, get out of DC, get into Arlington, right? Get like a nice house or townhouse in Arlington or in DC, and if they're stagnant, if they're stuck there, then that's going to have this blistering effect down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. What else was I going to say? There was DC market pulling us down.
So just looking at the numbers, year over year change, total homes in the DC metro area increased 23%. That's I would say to be expected with all the market activity that's going on. Median sales price up just about 2.1%. And then new listings are about the same, only increased 0.3% compared to June 2024. So it's not really the new listings. Again, it's just the demand and taking longer to sell for the listings that are on the market.
Yeah, the demand is down for sure. One thing that I want to kind of dig back into those numbers, what did we see this year as well that hit us? We had a really, really slow beginning to the spring market. Do you remember that? It was what's going on, right? And that was that whole DOGE effect. And so I think we definitely rebounded from that, because the rate after that, everybody was calling them
we did?
Should I list my house? No, I want to say that we rebounded from how slow it was at the very beginning of that, right? Because our typical March, April market is burning. It's on fire. And we did not have that this year. But then all of a sudden, like, I got so busy. I sold more houses in 2 months than I had in a year. You know, like I was so busy and things were selling and my properties were selling and I did mostly listings and they all sold pretty quickly. And so, you know, it was a quick rebound from, oh no, what are we seeing? Are we seeing a lot of job losses? Yes. Is it affecting our market? I don't know. You know, the speculation. And then we didn't see it really affect our market too much. But now maybe we are starting to see it, right? Maybe now these job cuts that happened in the spring, people aren't finding the work. Maybe they are selling, right? And there's other articles that people send me that are like, oh, it's coming. You know, there's more coming.
That's what I was going to say, because people that took the retirement, I don't know how this stuff works, but maybe they're still getting paid until September, October. And then at that point, they're like, well, the funnel stopped, no more money's coming in, then we got to sell. So DOGE may have like happened and is in the past, but it may just be creeping around the corner for the fall market.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. It's going to take 6 months before these people actually sell their house, right? They're not going to sell the first week that they get laid off or, you know, they lose their job. It's just they're going to start looking for other work. So they have a funnel of money that is slowly, you know, going down and going down. And so how long is that going to last? Have they found another job? And so I really believe that those DOGE people that haven't found work are now into the fall market. They're going to sell if they haven't found it, right? And so that could have that culminating effect, and we could see a bad market in the fall. Then again, we're looking at job numbers, and job numbers are actually really good. So they're saying, hey, what do we have to do for this economy to get these interest rates down? So if we could have the opposite effect, if we see the interest rates come down in the September meetings, then, you know, we're going to have a big force coming at us again for purchasing. So, you know, we're all speculating. We're all trying to figure it out. We don't know what's going to happen. But by looking at the numbers, we're higher in inventory. We're lower on demand in general.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
right?
right.
I mean, August is probably going to be pretty quiet.
It's going to be quiet.
There shouldn't be any dramatic August real estate news. I did just get a notification. CoStar's suing Zillow. Zillow's suing someone. Compass is suing. Everyone's just suing each other right now.
Yeah.
Seems to be the status of the situation. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think it's a bad time to buy in the DC area? I mean, oftentimes the like quote unquote bad times are the best times of opportunity. So if you're seeing all these crazy headlines out there of DC housing rising, Arlington inventory up, prices down, longer to sell, and you're sitting on the sidelines, I mean, this could be the prime opportunity for you.
Yeah, this is the time to jump in. It's scary because you're seeing all the negative news, but this is the time that people jump in and make the gains. So if you are looking, and the problem is you just don't know how long it's going to last. But in my experience of real estate over the last 21 years, it doesn't last very long. You know, we did see a long term of maybe 3 years back when, you know, everything fell. That was a 3-year period of like, oh, this is rough. But then boom, we surpassed it all. So, you know, these downturns, these little small dips, this August timeframe, July, August timeframe, always a good time to buy. Let's see how September performs.
Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe for Shawn and myself. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.